You got into the mulled wine.
I had one in the, what's it, is it the tan yard?
Tan yard, yeah.
Felt pretty pissed after it.
2 of them, and you're like, done. Still get home, early night,
Yeah.
excellent. Middle-aged life. Love it. Anyway, what are we doing here?
Okay, welcome to the Paddle and Foil Show. Merry Christmas. This is our Christmas edition. You're here with Will.
Ruben.
And Bo.
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
So the Paddle and Foil Show is our little get-together where we talk about everything in the SUP foil wing industry, what's going on, what we're up to, as well as sharing some of the great questions that we get in from all of our SUPboarder Pro readers through RC Experts to give you a bit of a taste of what you can experience if you're a SUPboarder Pro subscriber.
Yep. And you could be listening this on podcast, couldn't you? Maybe
Yeah, we throw this out on podcast and on YouTube, so you can watch, listen to it wherever you are.
Yeah, I hope you're having a good. Oh, so what is it? So is it day before Christmas? It's Christmas Eve. Day before Christmas Eve. This is going to go out, isn't it? So you're getting ready. Hope you got all the presents wrapped.
We've got our Santa hats on.
Yeah,
We're
Santa
all
hats on.
dressed
We
up.
filmed this in October. No, you didn't. So yeah, I'll be. I'll hopefully be driving down south.
Yes.
I'm going on a
You'll be.
road trip.
You'll be already gone by that point.
Yeah, you two will be here in the cold still. Anyway. So how should we run this out? Should we do?
Well, we've got loads of things to talk about,
Yes.
haven't we? List of stuff to run through. But where should we start?
Let's start with our industry news and stuff. Talking about what's going on in the industry, what we've learned over the last month since the last one. Stuff
Yeah.
to generally chat about.
Well, okay, can I start on that one?
Well, sounds like Will's got some...
I've got something to moan about.
Okay, all right, okay. I'll just warn you, everybody, if Will's got a rant, this might take a while. I'll put my phone down. Go on then.
Well, apparently SUP's dead.
What?
Apparently SUP is not a thing anymore. So I don't really know why we're here.
Oh. All right,
Disappointing.
I'll go then. So I've had a little bit of an inkling and feeling from different brand things. Where are you coming from with this? Why are you chatting about this?
Well, I talk to a lot of brands with work and bits and pieces, and there is a bit of a sort of down on SUP kind of feeling at the moment. I think no one's really selling much in the way of SUPs.
Yep.
There's a couple of reasons for that. There's the weather's not been very good in Europe, a lot of parts of Europe. There's a lot of inventory, a lot of stock left over, so people can't really shift that stock as there's not much margin in it. But yeah, there's a bit of a down feeling on SUP. But added to that, I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and I listened to one from a pretty influential person within the water sports market who kind of alluded that SUP was a thing. And I don't know, I don't think that SUP was a thing. I think SUP is a thing. And when we look at what's been going on and what we see, there's still a really active community.
If SUP's dead, I'd like to have less emails.
Yeah,
I've still got a lot of emails from readers asking a lot of questions. So they obviously think SUP's definitely still live and kicking.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, I think it's a shame that influential people are saying things like that, because I think it's very telling of the way that the industry often works. If it's not selling something, it can't be bothered. And SUP came along, and it's this fantastic accessible sport that's created some really amazing communities, huge passion for the sport, and actually the industry kind of can just forget about it and walk away. And actually, I think it's going to miss an opportunity if it keeps that kind of attitude. We saw it in windsurfing 30 years ago, where windsurfing was massive, and they kind of just pushed windsurfing so hard that it became something very niche. And so I think there's a lesson to be learned, and maybe the industry is going down the same route.
Yeah, maybe. Two things from that. One, is it 30 years ago?
Well, I don't know.
I lose track of time. I'm not that old, but I do remember. Yeah. Anyway, but the other one, yeah, definitely, I wouldn't say it's dead, but I do think looking at it now, the COVID boom hasn't helped the situation.
No. Because
that massive uptake of 50-60% more people getting into or trying this sport. And when I mean by this sport, I mean standing on an inflatable paddleboard getting blown out to sea. I mean that's sort of mass market stuff. And then you reflect on this year, you think, oh, it's really down. But then, for a start, nobody gets a SUP for Christmas, do they?
No.
It's not really a Christmas item anyway. So, and I do think, I agree with you. Some of the brands are sort of just following the money, really.
Yeah,
which is where the foiling, and this is part of the podcast and show, is half foiling as well. So it's like, well, actually, that's not dead.
Yeah.
But how much is it in relation? How many suppers are out there compared to foilers at the moment? I guarantee there's more suppers than foilers.
Yeah.
Absolutely flat out, way more.
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of unknown and there's a lot of learning to do in foiling. So there's a lot of active discussions online, and to some extent, you've just got to keep buying stuff until you figure out the right stuff to buy. So that's probably why lots of people are buying stuff there. But yeah, it's definitely not dead. And when I reflect on what's going on in the stand-up paddleboarding market over the last couple of months, from an events point of view, there's been some huge events. I mean, starting with the ICF World Championships in Thailand, there was somewhere in the region, someone said somewhere between 700 and 1100 competitors. That's insane.
That is insane, yeah.
And
that's probably the biggest event ever.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Must be. And so much content coming out of that event, and you know, that's huge.
I think it also maybe, do you think it's dependent on the world, where you're on the world? Obviously, you're talking Europe here. If you take Europe, Americas, and then the Asia side of it, that I know that's getting really big. Like China, SUP's getting really big in China. There's loads of people paddleboarding out there now, which is fantastic. But you know, the Europe, it's all very, can't just, hard to judge. Is what I'm saying. It's very, very hard to judge. What do you think, Bo? From looking at you've come back from like the commentating. Well, you could have been competing actually for the longboard event.
I could have been.
Yeah,
I didn't surf
for the APP World Tour.
Yeah.
People out there, what was the feeling on SUP? Was it?
Oh no, everyone's loving SUP. I mean, it's a huge thing. And then off the back of that, we've had questions come in on Ask the Experts on SUPboarder Pro about people wanting to enter the event next year.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it's like it's definitely not dead. People want to get into the SUP surfing side a bit more as well. And like in Thailand, just the amount of competitors. I think there was like 70 something medals or like you know podiums that could have been that were up for grabs kind of thing. So that's just a huge amount of divisions through all the different ages, and it just goes to show that SUP is still well and truly alive. But I also think that we spoke about it a little bit before. Maybe it's just SUP's just going back down to pre-COVID levels. Like you said, Will, before we even started filming this, that SUP kind of wasn't a real known thing, like in the mass market anyway, before COVID hit.
COVID just made it into a mass market sport, and then everybody who got into it or wasn't really a paddleboarder just got into it because it was the thing to do, has kind of disengaged with it, because I think that's natural. But also, what are we doing? What is the industry doing to encourage people in? We're not seeing any interesting developments in shapes of, for instance, touring boards. Lots of focus on inflatables, but you know, I've been saying for years that I want better touring boards, composite touring boards. I want the brands to be looking outside the box, and there's certainly people out there in those communities, you know, outside of those disciplines that have events. So touring, exploring, you know, those communities are out there doing their thing, and we don't see what's happening through events because they don't have events. But those, so it's kind of silently there, but maybe people aren't buying product because they don't need stuff, or brands need to be investing in inspiring people of what to do.
Yeah, I think that's the nutshell of it.
Yeah,
I think people you've got how do you judge how big it is when you're not selling anything?
Yeah,
people are still doing it. People are still going out, aren't they? And the other one is another event, last paddler standing.
Yeah, insane. Yeah, we ran the live stream for that, and I did the stats for it, and there was 21,000 views of like 35 guys paddling around in circles for 3 days.
Yeah.
And 4,000 hours watched. Huge engagement. And I got pretty into it actually. And there was some serious emotion, like from commentators, competitors, and the people watching.
So just explain, if you are not aware of what this event was, what is it, Will? Because you really dig it into it.
Yeah. So you go, you paddle a loop of 5K, pretty much 5K. You start on the hour, every hour. And that can take anywhere between like 35 minutes to 50 minutes. And then you have that 10 minutes to break. And then on the hour, you start again. And you do that until you're the last paddler standing. So everyone just drops out throughout the race, and they got to 50 loops.
So
50 loops, non-stop for 50 hours.
And this is around a set flat water course, isn't it?
Yeah, in Florida.
And it's basically, so you're just paddling non-stop, no sleep, or very little sleep, 10 minutes sleep, 5 minutes sleep.
Yeah.
So they were going. What was the longest? How long were they paddling? The longest person?
So Blake Carmichael, who was the last paddler standing, did 50 loops.
Just 50 hours.
So that included
just under 50 hours, was it? He was doing, because he didn't do an hour.
Yeah.
So it's like 44. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, 50 loops, so 50 hours of activity.
And there is the live feed that went on the SUPboarder YouTube channel that guys amazingly, put together. Commentators that did such a good job on that end. If you want to watch it all over Christmas, if you want to get away from the family,
there's
put it on after this.
Or you can watch the last few hours. That's gone up there.
Yeah, the last hour is there as a slightly compressed.
We will try and get some highlight stuff going on as well, and do some interviews in future with some of those athletes, because pretty big mental challenges there.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. There's some very passionate people who are using paddleboarding as this amazing vehicle for endurance challenges. It was based out in Florida, and they're talking about a lot of the events out there, much more, I'd say, mature in terms of the endurance events out there. There's a fantastic race called the Crossing that raises money for cystic fibrosis, which goes from Barbados to Jupiter, I think, in Florida, 83 miles. Open ocean stuff. 200 people do that event.
Jeez, wow.
200. So SUPs there. I think you've just got to be putting a little bit more energy into the sport to reap the benefit. It's not just put stuff on shelves and it will fly out anymore.
I do think that the brands that there's going to be a big change next year. There's no doubt. I mean, we've already seen it. There's unfortunately there's some good brands actually that have sort of gone by the side.
I think what we're going to see over the next 12 months is brands that are in the sport that aren't really they're not really passionate about it. SUPs saved them. I think there's lots of wind sports brands who are in that category who became paddleboard brands because of the decline of windsurfing particularly, and kiting, and suddenly paddleboarding came along, and there was something that they could sell, and they survived off of that. And I think now winging is there, and foiling is there. That's where their roots are. That's what they're really passionate about. So I think those brands will disappear, and then hopefully the brands that actually have passion for paddling will come through, and they'll be the brands that you'll see who will put time, put money, put resource into the sport to keep all these people interested and excited about it all.
I mean, they're all great sports, aren't they? All foiling, winging, windsurfing, paddleboarding. Get into them all, But they all work in different times, don't they? That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, we do them all, don't we? We cross over depending on what we want to do. So yeah, it's really interesting. But I think that it's not. You've got to be careful sometimes who you're listening to, because if you're not invested in paddleboarding, I think it's easy to say that paddleboarding's dead or not really a thing. But when you work in paddleboarding every day of the week like we do, the amount of things that we're seeing going on is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think you summarised that rant pretty well.
Yeah.
I think it was good. So that leads on to other industry news then. Well, there's lots of things actually we can talk about. I know that, like, talking about development, there are certain board developments. Like behind me, there's the Starboard Icon, brand new board. Bo's just done a review of that. So that's a brand putting a lot of energy, a lot of time into a completely new development. Red Paddle Co. We've got some new stuff just come out.
Yeah. I think those brands that are really passionate about paddling are putting time, energy, resources into it.
Yeah. And then there's various, obviously good composite boards and hard boards. There's lots of different stuff, going on, and so it's looking good. It's looking good, but definitely it's going to be an interesting time going ahead in the next 12 months for brands' point of view. Anyway, I think looking at but I do think we need a bit of a clear out. To be honest.
Yeah.
We've had way too much. There's been way too many iSUPs, particularly on the market.
Yeah.
And for the readers out there, there's so much. You might want to beat this one crap. But it's just, you've got to get rid of that crap, because we've got to look at the environment, how long things are going to last, and which is actually why I'll bring in the starboard now. This video has just been released recently where I've done about the starboard welded rails, and it's a prime thing to talk about. So this is how Starboard started the welding rails. I still think they're actually one of the only brands that really does it to the level. I know a lot of other brands say they do welded rails, which is where they basically heat the two material layers together and they mechanically bond them instead of using glue. So having that on a board is going to last, well, they don't know how long it's going to last. It's going to last way longer than having a glue, which can
we know degrades and falls apart.
Yeah, by UV rays and stuff. So, you know, and that's a really great thing, and that's what we need all inflatable paddleboards to be made like. And I know Sven at SUPboarder would be saying exactly that. We need to see even the cheaper price point boards, unfortunately, made in that type of way, so they last forever and they're not in landfill. Because I know potentially you can recycle them, and people are starting to think of ways of doing that, but it's still very hard.
It's really tough.
We're better off just having it lasting like a paddleboard, and people keep using it.
Yeah, make it last rather than try and have to recycle it. It's just better to make a really good quality product. But
I have to say, looking at this sample, if you're podcaster, if you're a podcaster right now, it's basically like an inflatable bodyboard. This one, I'm thinking about taking this away with me as an inflatable bodyboard and see what massive trashings I need. A massive shore break to get nailed in that. But okay. So what else have we got on the chat on the industry side of stuff? Let's have a look.
Talk about the new wing development as well.
Oh yeah, let's. Well, wing is a thing now, so we need to talk about winging.
Wing is a thing.
Wing is a thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about winging. Let's move on to winging. Sorry, suppers, it's dead. We're now back on winging.
Unless you had something to say.
We've done our talk.
You look like you want to get in there and say
something. What do you want to say?
No.
No, you're ready. Because we've got some new wings behind us. We've got one new wing. We've got new PPC M1 wing.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But before we talk about that, shall we talk about the new ozone wing?
Yeah. Now this is called the Fusion, not the Flux. The Fusion. The Fusion is a full double skin wing, which they've launched with a lot of hype. I think. Very openly saying it's a sort of more expert product. Looks pretty cool. Sounds like the performance is pretty insane. What do you think the downsides are going to be?
Well, I watched that video, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see a brand actually putting a proper, like a video explaining stuff. But I just straight away started looking at it. I was like, my elbows are going to be knackered. I don't know why I thought. Well, in fact, I know why I thought that, because I saw the guys. To be fair, they were loading up and going upwind and really cranking upwind, and I do understand you need to sheet in and really sort of tuck up and sort of bend your elbows, but it did look really powerful. And they say it's powerful, and that's fine. So I'm not having a moan about it, but I'm like, I think my elbows wouldn't last very long with that. And I know there was a fair amount of harness work involved. I saw them with camera stuff. But anyway, that was my first thoughts. It was like, looks powerful. I think definitely my back elbow would be struggling a bit.
Because it's got no give, has it? It's got no flex.
And I also thought it's a bit like the kite surfing days when I was using like round air kites, like don't crash it. You know, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I'm interested to see.
I'd love to know what it is like if you get
worked
in
the surf.
How much water would it take on? But you know, it's an awesome piece of innovation, and fair play for them to bring something like that to market.
I think ozone as well. They would bring it to market.
Very interested to see how much it's going to cost, because there's a lot of work in that. It's
I would not want to rip it. I would not want to get it repaired.
Because
the repairer is going to have to get those. You know, there's obviously a lot of tension under those. Not a lot, but equal tension when they get it made. And here you go. Like, oh really? Have I got to do this? Like, just whack a patch on it.
I'll be interested to know if they think it's going to be a thing, or they're doing it as almost as a demonstration of the capability they have. Because Ozone as a company, you know, they don't just make kites and wings. They're huge in terms of, they've got their own factory somewhere in Asia. It's got like 1,000 employees. They're making all sorts of stuff, paragliders and I think those type of things. So
no, it looks pretty cool. Any thoughts on
that, Bo? No, none at all. No, I did put the news post out on the site, and I watched the video, but I didn't retain any information.
Oh you can wing. We need to keep winging. It's been over a year.
Actually, I was thinking today I should have come down early and got in the water and went for a foil or something.
I think you should do some flat water paddle up stuff.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because I think you'd like a downwinder.
Yeah, I'd love a downwinder.
Yeah. I think you'd
that'd
like
be good.
That sort of thing.
I think we said that in the last video. We need to film that and blog that.
Yeah.
Actually, that links on to what we've just done actually recently. We're going off industry news a bit about the SUPboarder content,
Yeah.
SUPboarder Pro content, where we've been filming and diarying your foiling journey of getting into downwinding, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it'd be good to bring Bo in to film an episode and bring him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't make sense of me there, which is probably very obvious, we've been filming Will's journey into getting to SUPboarding downwinding.
Yeah.
And he's been talking about what he's learning.
Just kind of like capturing the journey.
Yeah.
And what I'm learning, what I'm failing at, what I'm succeeding at, where my learning points are, and we're putting those out as bigger SUPboarder Pro videos, so there's a bit more juice, and they go out earlier as well. So it'll be available to everybody in some form. But
and podcast actually, there'll be YouTube and podcast on that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been really interesting for me to sort of sit, because obviously I know a little bit about it and done a bit, but then watching your journey. And I think, yeah, like we said in the video, it's like a real world, in real conditions.
Yeah, a lot of the content
being realistic about where you can do it, when you can do it.
Yeah. A lot of the content's out there is coming from Australia and the Hawaiian Islands, I would say. That's where people have got the hang of it. So we're trying to do it in a bit more of a real world way, and you're dealing with slightly different conditions, I think. But that in its own right is a really interesting thing about what I think proves that SUP isn't a thing of the past, because it's actually encouraging a lot of people who are prone foilers, surf foilers, to get engaged with stand-up paddleboarding, which is super interesting for me. And I got friends and people I met when I went around the UK meeting people who are going SUP surf foiling now rather than prone foiling, because they're trying to develop those paddle skills, those stand-up paddleboard skills that they know that they can benefit from when they work towards that sort of holy grail of the downwinder, because they see downwinding as the absolute holy grail of sort of water sports. It's these prone guys, because
really,
like, I can surf down rivers, I can surf down an ocean for 40 miles slashing around, which some of the footage I've seen, like there's some crazy stuff going on where people are ripping around.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's make sure I go back on the PBC before we leave that industry news, because I'm darting around a bit. So this is the new M1 wing. You know about this, Will. First time we've both seen it. All seen it, in fact. Bo's bringing it in here as well.
Yeah.
So materials, it's different.
Yeah, it's different. It's leading edge. So a lot of the higher end, sort of more premium wings are using Alula struts. Yeah. And the inflatable part. But this is a little bit different because it's using Dyneema, or Dyneema is sort of, it's basically a material known as Cuban, which was developed in the 90s with America's Cup yachting. Dyneema fabric that was then used heavily in sailing boats. Very strong, durable material. I believe it can be very tricky to work with, but interesting that PPC are using Cuban rather than just going down this Alula route, which everyone else is doing.
I like that one.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Big respect for them for trying something different, and they like to do it properly, don't they?
I have to say, the build quality on this, the closing seam on this front lead is full on.
Yeah.
Never seen any wing.
Takes 11 psi, and it's a very small diameter tube as well.
Wow.
So I think that's where the benefit's going to come.
And it's got little mini leech battens.
Yeah.
There.
We've not gone on the water on it
no.
yet, but literally just pumped it up.
Yeah. So
it arrived this morning.
Good fun to get on the water and have a go on that one.
Yeah.
Fighting over that one. Who takes that away? Let's talk about this, because we're all perfectly suited to talk about this. This is the women's specific new PFD from Palm. This is the Palm Tika.
Yeah. So we've been reviewing this, haven't we?
Yeah, we've just done a review. Well, Lucy and a load of other SUPboarder girls have been paddling this one, using it. It is, how can I say this without getting too many negative comments? This is, Lucy won't mind, this is basically to stop the East and West syndrome for females. Guys, if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about, it's when you get a point it pushes against your chest, your breasts will either stay in that place or they'll move east and west. Yeah. And this has a really Palm's done a lot of work on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
this is actually a really nice product from Palm, really well made. But it shows how the paddling market, they're again looking for much more comfortable, flattering, nicer things to wear for females, and it shows how much of a big market is for them.
Yeah. It's really cool to see them focus on a women's specific PFD, because the test we did on SUPboarder Pro at the start of the year was really interesting, and there was so many frustrations with those testers about certain products, and for Palm to go away and actually develop something specifically, and I believe they've done a lot of focus groups and
they've
really focused on.
Yeah, I see Lucy did all the work for that review. I just stood in front of the camera and brought it to light. But yeah, there's a huge amount of work came from Palm from that.
Yeah.
And you really can show when they try it on and they're like, wow, this is nice.
Yeah.
So that's a nice product. So that would be on a good Christmas list, but it's not even out yet. It's not
When is it
released.
released?
February. I don't know if it's pre-order now, but shops February time. So if you know you're wearing a buoyancy aid and you want to wear a buoyancy aid that's not too hard to climb back on and off your board, and you do understand the east and west problem, definitely the Palm Tika is well worth checking out. Go into a stall, try it on.
Yeah, I think one of the big things we learned on that test was that you don't necessarily need to paddle it. You need to just try buoyancy aids on, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you'll mimic your paddle kind of motion.
Yeah.
And then you'll know whether it works or not.
But to be fair, it's something that guides have no understanding about. As in, we don't have that problem, and it is a big it is a horrible problem, and especially if you're a larger bust, it's even harder.
Yeah.
So, Palm Tika.
Can I do one now?
Yeah, you can do it.
I've got another moan.
Oh, God.
This time I've had some complaints about you two.
Oh gosh.
You've been telling too many people, how good the SMIKs are.
Oh, we can't help it.
What is it? This is around the test.
This
is around the test where you have to tell somebody the product's best, and we're getting told of telling somebody the product's best.
Yeah, and then I'm getting told off by the brands that entered the test who
we didn't tell them the product's best.
Pissed off that they didn't win. But you can never win, really.
Well, tell me who they are, and I'll tell them theirs is the best now. Yeah, that's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that Quiver Killer test.
It was all in relation to
the best board one.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and that's why we do the tests in the way we do them, because we can literally there's nothing that will stop us saying what we think. And
yeah, the problem is, as you two know, if somebody says that to me, I'll only even more say it.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah.
to be like, oh, you can't say that. Yeah. Well, no, that board, the SMIK is an outstanding Quiver Killer board.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hipster Twin. So, to be fair, there is a few other boards in that test as well that will easily suit other people.
And that's the thing with the test. Obviously, there is going to be a winner. We have to pick a winner.
Yeah.
But every board suits different people.
Yeah.
And it's not that we always recommend SMIK to people, but we do recommend other brands as well, because they're after something different in their surfing.
I've got a question. Is it a particular favourite? It's all about style, isn't it, with surfing? And is it a favourite because it suits your styles, or is it just can it be good for anybody? That particular board.
I just think it's such an easy board to ride. It turns so quickly, and it doesn't really fit my kind of style of surfing, but I really enjoy riding it because it's fast. It
makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good. Exactly, It makes you feel good.
Easy is the word.
It's so easy.
Yeah,
and it's smooth as well, and it just everything just happens.
Yeah, it's like if you're getting to foiling or whatever sport you are, unless you're right at that higher level and you want that certain, like Bo's saying, I want that certain feel of that on that certain wave, and you put that bottom turn in and you think, oh, that board's not quite doing. But you're talking about somebody who knows exactly that sort of feeling. The SMIK, the Hipster is a board that you just get on and you just smile.
Yeah.
You go into a top turn, you do a cutback, you do a floater, you think that's great. I don't think, oh, that floater wasn't quite what I was expecting. I wanted one with a little bit more, it's just easy.
Yeah.
And that's definitely where Lucy, because she loves the Hipster, she's like, it's just so smooth, easy.
Yeah. I think, like you say, in watching that test, it talks about which boards will be right for particular people, where you're talking about where someone does have that idea of what exactly they want.
Yeah, like if you were a heavier person, more powerful on your back legs, more what you'd be like, oh, maybe you should look at a wider tail board. Maybe you're struggling to get speed on the wave. Go for a quad or something. So there aren't, and that's why we get all the emails. That's why you've had a lot of emails actually lately.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Because they lead you to usually a 2 or 3 boards at the end. There's some people that obviously that's the board and that's fine, but there's still I'd say 60% of people are still not 100% sure, and they're down to that last 2 or 3 boards, and then that's when we get an email, and then we sort of almost close the deal, like, right, yeah, it's this one. They're like, okay, cool.
It's the SMIK.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Or it's the one they can't get hold of, because the brand haven't got it in stock in the UK, or if you're in Australia, or wherever you are. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, unfortunately, you need that one. So what's the next best one available to you? Maybe it's not even in the test. Maybe they might even go and get a custom from somebody else, but it's closest to that. Yeah. And that's why, as the experts on SUPboarder Pro, gets you that next level of stuff. That's really where SUPboarder Pro and the questions and stuff really.
Yeah, just help get, because we're not selling any gear,
no.
So it's just like we're just passing on the information. We go into a test and we're very open-minded. We're just like, well, we're just going to tell people out there what is best, and
there's no affiliates, there's none of that rubbish. It's just straight up as it is. Otherwise your job just gets blurred and you can't you end up getting moaned at like that.
Well, yeah, you kind of can't win. I get on earful for what these guys said, but ultimately I kind of don't care, because I know that we're doing the right thing.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it is.
Carry on taking it. Yeah. Carry on giving it.
I will say a couple of things more on the SMIK though.
God, you can't talk about it all the time.
I know.
They've had their 5 minutes.
I think I'm going to say a little bit more. I will agree with Will though that I have had a lot of Ask the Expert questions come in about SMIK. Should I buy this SMIK longboard or this SMIK longboard? Like the Stylelord or the Hipster Twin or this or that, but I think that's off the back of the test. But I also will say that SMIK do a Spitfire, which is their high performance model, but you won't see the pro guys or girls riding the Spitfire. It's all on the Hipster Twin.
Yeah, I
think it just goes back to it's easy. It just makes you feel good. Riding.
Yeah, and in competition surfing, you're not actually worried about. Yeah, you want your turn to look good, but at the end of the day, you really want 5 turns.
That's right.
Over 2, don't you? So is that why?
Yeah.
It's just 'cause it's easy and they guarantee you.
Easy. Yeah. True.
That's very interesting. It's a very popular competition board because it delivers.
Exactly.
Gets you through
the lower risk deliver.
Yeah. Since you said that, I don't see any of them riding Not that the Spitfires, I haven't used one, but I can't imagine it's a bad board.
No.
Shape from Scotty
exactly.
still,
So. What was Benoit riding?
He was riding Spice.
Spice. So similar category, bit more forgiving.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously the Spice is a really good board too, isn't it?
Exactly.
How was he riding that? Did it? What size was that? Sorry?
6'9".
6'9". What literage?
74. 74.
And what fin setup? Getting all the questions now towards
Quad.
Quad. Okay. Right. Yeah. Sorry. End of my question. End of my questions now.
Yeah. No, he was like carving it and surfing it like as if it was a performance board.
Yeah. Was anybody else? Sorry, going back in it. Was anybody else on like the pros?
This was at the APP. World Tour event.
We're flattening around a bit here.
Yeah.
AP Gran Canaria.
Gran Canaria.
Was anybody else on Starboard Pro shapes?
Yes, there was Alba Frey in the women's.
Yeah.
On the Starboard Pro. There were a couple of younger riders as well on Starboard Pro. They ended up borrowing Benoit's Starboard Spice.
I was about to say, so I'm trying to ascertain how many people, because the SMIKs did well. Right. Bayer got it, and did Wes?
No,
Wes didn't. But he did well in the last event, didn't he? In France.
He did well. He got second at the ISA.
In the ISA, that's it. Yeah. So I'm trying to work out who, on average, most people are on the Spice Hipster style setup boards, less of the pro shapes.
The top guys are riding like a very small boards.
Yeah.
6'6", 23 by 60 litres, 65 litres sometimes.
Wow.
Which is tiny. And they're like super high performance boards.
How much paddling was going on?
So they've implemented a new rule. This is quite interesting, actually. The APP World Tour implemented a new rule that you can sit down on the back of on your board. You can sit down on your board when you're waiting for waves.
Yeah.
And that just allows competitors to save their energy. Yeah. Get a high performance on the wave because they've got much more energy to burn.
Yeah.
So it was interesting talking to Benoit about it because he was saying that he's going to get boards that are lower in volume now.
Lower again.
Lower again in volume because that way he's going to get high performance on the wave, but he can sit down on the board at the back. He's just got to paddle it standing up to get out there.
So you have to paddle it standing
Have
up.
to paddle it standing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of these brakes, are they still round point brakes though? So they can get out without punching up through the white water.
Yeah. That is a huge.
That is a massive one. If you've got a 5 foot white water coming, you're. Oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So
yeah,
one to consider.
Interesting stuff. Okay. Let's move on to. You've got a question asking the readers out there about decathlon foils.
Oh yeah. So recently Decathlon launched a wingboard and a foil. Decathlon, I think probably all over the world now, particularly the US and Europe, seem to bring in quite low price, competitively priced products, often relatively good quality.
Well designed, I'd say generally.
Yeah, we haven't had any experience with them, but if anyone has used the Decathlon wingboard, 85-litre wingboard, retails at £499.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cheap. And then they've got a foil which is around 700.
Ooh. Yeah. So write us a comment below.
Yeah.
Love to know
any feedback
thoughts,
on those.
Feedback, construction, quality. And maybe we'll try and get one.
Yeah, we're always trying to get kit because it's always interesting to give feedback. But yeah, sometimes we can't get it, so we rely on you guys.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about a little bit what else has been going on SUPboarder, what other stuff we've covered. Since we did the last paddle and fall show video, you two were sat on an aisle paddleboard.
Yeah.
That was the one with the new stiffening system that I've already forgotten what it's called. Infinity fiber, sorry. Yeah, I did a little mini quick look SUPboarder Pro review on that. Yeah. Very interesting.
Very different, wasn't it?
Very stiff.
Yeah.
Just very stiff.
Is it the stiffest board you've ever had?
It is the stiffest board, and per weight ratio, it's really not that heavy either. If you've got one of those boards, you're probably going to completely agree with me, but get your comments down below on that. So that was the, we got through so much kit, I've already forgotten what it was called. So it's the
Isle Explorer.
Isle Explorer Pro.
Yeah.
That's what it was, because they're doing it. Yeah. If you've got any of those ranges, yeah, that fantastic, amazing material in that. Again, shows innovation in SUP. Another one showing that,
yeah, doing some good stuff.
Doing some really good stuff. So that's an interesting video. Bo, you've done a RVB readers video breakdown.
I've done a readers video breakdown. They're really fun to do. I really enjoy doing them. It's like a real life situation. People sending in their video clips of them paddling, wanting some advice on their technique, how they can improve their paddling, be it flat water, SUP surfing. We're thinking of getting some winging and foiling ones in as well, which would be really good to do. But yeah, they're great. And this one was just really about getting a bit more efficiency out of your paddle stroke and how you can get a little bit more speed on the water, but generally a bit more power and efficiency.
It's amazing. You generally watch a clip, 30 seconds. You think, oh yeah, they're paddling well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes the clips coming in like, well, there's not much to break down on that one. But then you
really watch it, and then you manage to dissect and bring it out. It's even more with SUP surfing and stuff. You're like, oh wow, there's like 10 facts you've just brought out there. I didn't think there was any, and then suddenly it opens up.
Well, the thing is that sometimes there's so much to talk about, but you only really want to focus on the main points.
Yeah.
So you'll just bring out the main points in the video, then we might send a bit of extra email back to the person who sent it in.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, you should also work on this, but stick with that first.
Yeah. Because a lot of times they're paddling really well. It's like when you teach somebody to SUP surf, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
But I can give you a load of, but it doesn't mean you're not doing really well.
That's right.
You've got that little hamburger technique of how you approach that sort of.
Yeah. Because our RVBs or readers videos breakdowns are something that we offer pro subscribers, and it's fantastic. It's basically getting sort of virtual coaching.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic benefit of the pro subscription, and we ask you if you can send us a video, and we don't have to turn it into a video. You can send us videos, and we'll give you feedback on technique. But it's really great from a community aspect, because by us helping you, that helps a lot of other people, and it helps a lot of other people benefit in their paddling or their foiling or their winging.
Yeah, and it can be real low level. Well, don't think you've got to be, a certain. I think that's what probably puts a lot of people off. They think, oh, I can't let myself
Well, I think the
be
lower the
shown
level, the better.
that
Yeah,
it's
sure.
easier for us.
Well, no, it's not that it's easier. It helps more people
Yeah,
as well.
Oh
exactly,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's going to help you a lot more as well.
Yeah. So definitely don't feel, and even if you have 2 minutes worth of footage, it's great, but 30 seconds, 10 seconds can do it. Yeah, and I definitely think we're going to move on to the foiling.
Yeah, I think that there's lots of, I see a lot of people posting videos on Facebook forums and things of their flat water foiling paddle ups.
Yeah.
In preparation for their downwind journey. And I think from what I've learned over the last couple of months, I think there's lots of things that I can pick out now in technique to help people nail those flat water paddle ups, because there's just a couple of little things that I think are key mistakes people make, and then there'll be some good stuff there. I think.
There's actually going to be quite a lot of because there's people who don't come from the paddling background, like the surfers, and there's people who are very good paddlers who don't come maybe from the foiling background, and they're coming up with different problems, different hurdles. So it's just interesting highlighting those.
Yeah, so if anyone does have any flat water paddle up foiling, they can't, they're paddling like crazy and not flying. Then send us a video and we'll help.
And
that
we'll definitely do one with you.
Yeah.
Bo won't have a problem. I can guarantee it. It's one of those annoying people that just.
The only problem will be on the foil.
Yeah.
But I have to dial it back in.
Dial it forward back in. Yeah. So that's been going on. What else has been going on SUPboarder? We've had various reviews going out. There's been other great content, and your diary, your foiling, that's been coming out. That's all been going out over Christmas as well.
Some really good clothing things.
Oh yeah, because it is getting colder. Fortunately.
Yeah. Lots.
Bo will easily complain about that.
Quite easily.
Turns up to the studio like Michelin Man. How many clothes have you got on? It's like, it's so cold here. So cold. Just come back from Gran Canaria, man. We've been commentating on the APP World Tour. Oh, it's so cold here.
I actually took clothes off to come into the studio. I was driving down in my beanie and a bigger jacket.
Do you know the cars, they have heaters? You know that? It's not like you have to have air conditioning on all the time. The Aussies, you have a heater, you can turn it up.
But yeah, Bo now knows, having done some work on dry suits and separates, or was that you? Can't remember.
That was Bo.
Someone did it.
And me.
Yeah, you know that you could put your dry suit on now. And
he doesn't know he has to do the zip up though. The audience don't know about that, do they?
I'll put a clip up of that.
Actually, I think maybe it was in one of those. You were like slightly wet from around the groin area.
Oh,
and I was like,
I was.
You didn't zip up.
No, I was testing how dry the dry suit was, and I went under. I fully submersed myself, like here. I was like, this is great. And I was like, oh no, I think I'm getting wet. Yeah, I just didn't do the zip up properly. Or I'm having a wee. But I think you'd know that.
And then he's like, oh, I haven't done it up, so there's no fault with the dry suit.
Yeah,
but sometimes you've got to watch everything they do, just to make sure they do it right.
Yeah, there's some good stuff there on how to care for your gear, how to keep your expensive, nice paddling gear good for many years to come, how to prepare it for the season, probably some safety stuff in there. Separates and dry suits are really interesting subjects. There's a great video on that that I found really interesting watching that one.
It's amazing how the winter doesn't really have to stop you now.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's not as pleasant.
No, it's definitely not as pleasant.
Oh, come on. But, if you've got to get out, you've got to get, even for surfing, right? The wetsuits are phenomenal now.
They are really good.
Yeah. So, it's not as nice, and you've got to suck it up a little bit, but you can get in the water, doing so much more of these sports now.
That's true.
So many options for winter gear, isn't there?
Yeah. And we do try and cover a lot of that sort of stuff. And you do see a lot of palm stuff, but they make really good winter gear.
Yeah.
So
always open for anyone else who wants to send us their gear, because
no,
it doesn't have to just be palm. It's just palm work really closely with us.
But if you do full instruction manual how to use it, send it to Bo Nixon at SUPboardermag.com. So he doesn't get any problems in the future.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So should we move on to some of the questions that we've had over the last? Probably not all of you, because I know you've had a lot of SUP surf questions. So maybe just give us a few. And you've had some touring flat water based questions. I've had not so many. Well, I've been doing a lot of videos over the last few weeks, so I might leave it up to you two this time.
Okay.
Because mine have been a little bit more.
Shall I take it away with a paddling question?
Go on then.
I had a really interesting question that brought back some memories. A guy was struggling on paddling on a canal, and he was really struggling. He was like, my board just won't go in a straight line. And he was like sort of comparing to his mates, and he's like, I don't know if maybe I've just got a dodgy board. Anyway, bit of discussion, and a sort of light bulb went off my head. I've not done a huge amount of canal paddling, but a little bit. And I remember one of the main things that was so annoying paddling on a canal, particularly autumn, winter time, leaves getting caught on your fin, and they give you the impression that your fin's fallen out because it kind of just ventilates the whole fin, I think. So the board just doesn't.
So it doesn't slow down. It just sort of.
Yeah, I suppose it does slow down, but they all get caught on there, and they, you know, where on a US box you got the little fin bolt sticking out, the little thumb screw.
Yeah.
That's more to get caught on. The fin box is more to get caught on.
Oh, you're talking about inflatables as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Generally inflatables, I think, because you've got more for leaves to get caught on, and he was really confused by it, and I think that's fair enough. Like, it is a really weird feeling.
Yeah.
And then we. Johnny, who's done a lot of testing with us, I kind of wrapped him into the conversation, and Johnny does a lot of paddling on canals and is a big advocate of using a river fin, which is or a weed fin.
It's like really swept back.
Yeah, so we did the ER review a couple of years ago, probably now, and he said that works really well. If you don't want to have a fin like that, you can just, so things you can do is use more of a composite board because it doesn't have that big fin box where the leaves can get caught. Don't use a thumb screw, use a screw, small things like that.
I can actually see how that can easily happen now, because before, like, if we're paddling around here, we just have a lot of seaweed. You paddle into seaweed, you've hit seaweed. But I guess if you get one little leaf, and then you get another leaf,
they just build up.
It slowly builds up. And you're like, hold on, this is a bit weird. But it doesn't take you 10 minutes until you realise that's.
And they're there, and it's really quick to get rid of them. You just have to stop, which is kind of annoying. And then you do a little reverse paddle, and then you get this sort of puff of leaves out the back of the board. It's really weird. So
is that something that's come from like an inflatable board with maybe a bit of rocker, and the leaves kind of go under the board? Because I think like on a composite board, if you're on,
they get stuck on the nose.
No, they get stuck on the nose all the time.
Yeah. That's a very good point, and maybe the board is more on top of the water rather than in the water.
So what you need is a little net at the front, catching them.
It's like one of those little plow thing,
like a little snow
see it
plow.
now. This is something. I'm patterning this. This is it. Little net.
The SUP snow plow.
The
leaf plow.
The leaf plow.
Leaf plow. There you go.
If SUP wasn't dead, I would get into that. I'd make a lot of those. Leaf plow. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting question, and I think just one of those problems that a lot of people out there will have. But there are solutions. Look at composite boards.
Super
look at fins.
Swept back weed fins.
Yeah, they do work, and you don't lose a lot of your directional tracking from it.
Yeah.
You lose a lot less than you would if you've got a regular fin covered in leaves, because then you have no tracking. So that was an interesting one.
Very interesting.
Oh, what have you got?
Moving on to a SUP surfing one they've had come through. It's a very quick question from David. It's very area specific, but this could be translated to anywhere around the world. Where in Southern California can you paddle surf without coming into conflict with local surfers? Good question. We don't know much about Southern California. I don't know if you guys know much about Southern California.
I mean, well, for me, I don't know enough about it, but I've driven down past it. And just keep.
You know all the spots.
Keep driving. Yeah, I know all the spots. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I think it's
the thing is, if you put out a shout out, you're probably not going to get people to tell you the spots, because that's why they're quiet in the first place. But yeah.
And that was my response.
Oh, is it?
Exactly.
I know, but I can't tell you.
Well, it's not that, because I don't really know the coastline much, but I know it's a very populated coastline for surfers and stand-up paddleboarders, of course.
Yeah.
So there must be a lot of friction there.
It must be. I mean, the thing about stand-up paddleboarding, you're in a perfect vessel to get away from it, finding a spot, whether it's paddling from that car park, wherever he is, down the coast, getting on Google Earth, seeing where there's a bay you can't access, paddle around the corner. For me, and I know for all, but we're always constantly searching out spots, looking at maps, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And then finding where the swell's working, and there could be a spot there.
I actually had a pretty similar question from a guy in Europe who wanted to. He regular holidays in southwest France where there's some great waves, but it's busy, and sort of where else can I go? And there's lots of places you can go, and if there's good waves there, there's going to be other surfers there. But if you want to find quiet waves, you've just got to search, that's part of the challenge, and that's what makes it so good when you get a session when you're the only person there and you found these amazing waves. And unfortunately, surfing is a pretty popular thing, isn't it? So yeah, there's no such thing as an empty wave.
Well, I don't know.
You have to search for it.
You do.
There's no such thing as an easy empty wave.
Yeah, okay.
You have to look for it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a good question actually, but I do think you can. I've been around the world. I haven't been around the world, but having been at various spots around the world, you can usually find quiet spaces if you search it out.
Yeah.
And if you do turn up with another surfer, just be really respectful. Just take your time, sit on the line, sit on the outside, just slowly hoot, hollow wave, just let them go. And then eventually you'll be amazed. You could be surfing and you might have the best session of your life. And it's not because of the waves, it's just because of the atmosphere. So if there is only 2 or 3 of you out, if you show a bit of respect at the start, they do warm up pretty quick.
They do. They
might stand up and go, "Oh my God, it's a supper." But at the end of it, they're like, "Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You have a wave."
That's it. Exactly.
So,
we've done a video on the etiquette in lineups as well, so
yeah.
check that out. We'll put that in the link below. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I predominantly surf by myself all the time.
Yeah.
Just about all the time, because I actually seek out spots that people don't go to.
Yeah.
And you can always surf by yourself somewhere.
And I'm going to say it, most surfers are pretty lazy.
They are, yeah.
Okay, the really good surfers will get up before dawn and they will drive and they will search and they will walk and they will find. But that's a small group of people. Most of them are the masses. They go there. Most of them are, they're going to be the paddling for a wave. I missed it. Paddling, you missed it.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
you've had your 2 paddles. Okay, yeah. So that's the big amount of people that are surfing, isn't it? The ones that...
Yeah.
And everyone will just follow the crowd. They
follow the crowd, or they just get to the car park and they go straight out in front of the car park at the beach, and that's where they're going to surf. They haven't even looked at where the waves are. That's where they're going to surf.
Yeah.
But then that's typically where the crowd is. They just follow the crowd.
Yeah. People are sheep, though, aren't they? People do just follow other people.
But at the same time, I want people to carry on doing that. I can still have a get-to wave around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
So just don't listen to what we just said.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's an interesting one, though. Okay, so you basically told him nothing. No, you just told him.
No, I told him a few spots. I told him to get in contact with Dave Bainey. I know that Infinity's based there, so he probably knows a few spots. So just get in with the SUP community; they'll be able to show you a few different spots.
It's a bit like the foil stuff in surf. Like there's places that are kind of more established as foil locations where it's kind of accepted that that's a foil spot because it's not so good for surfing. It's great for foiling, and that might not just be location, but it might be states of tides at certain locations. And I think it's the way to find out, isn't it? Because people like Dave, who's within that community, he will know the right places to go to because he wants it to prosper as well. He doesn't want paddleboarding to get banned in lineups.
That's right. There's also a disclaimer on the email saying you might not give away all the information.
Yeah.
So be prepared.
And to be honest, thinking about it from you SUP surfers out there, I don't think you're the number 1 target anymore.
No,
I think it's foilers.
Yeah.
Because now you can go out and link endless waves. There's no point in you waiting out far in the line out back. You know, you're not the only. Yeah, it's quite interesting. The food chain shifted, and now all the surfers are getting into it or trying to get into it.
True.
It's going to be a different sort of dynamic.
Yeah. Definitely. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Right. Have you got another one, Will?
Yeah, I got another one. A guy who had just got into paddleboarding from sea kayaking, and he'd decided I'm going to become a paddleboarder. Gone out and bought a red Paddle Co Voyager 13.2, and as his first board, very little research. And then when he started moving on to thinking about his next board after enjoying a bit of paddleboarding, he was like starting to do some research. He'd found a test that we'd done that had included that board, and a video we did on Pro where we were comparing the V hull to the old version.
The toed-in fins.
Yeah, and it really highlighted that we couldn't really tell the difference because the toed-in fins were of such a big impact. Anyway, this is all a bit long-winded, but I said to him, those toed-in fins have been changed, so if your board is newer, it might not be as bad as we had made out in that video. Red Paddle Co actually told us a few months ago that they had actually changed those fins, so the board should be a bit better. So he was going to go back to Red Paddle Co and ask them, how old was the board? Has it got reduced toe-in? But then he, further down, this was a relatively long email. thread, he started to focus in on starboard boards, and he was trying to make the decision between 11.6 and 14 foot, often a common question. But with the starboard touring boards, there's some key differences between those two sizes. One has much more bungees, a bit more set up for longer distance touring, and one has a lot more what I'd call portage handles on it, handles along the side of the board to help you lift it up. He was very focused around doing coastal paddling, long distance expedition, maybe a bit of overnighting, and really just focus on being able to go as fast as possible. So 14 made a lot of sense. But I think the reason I wanted to talk about it was because those portage handles can be incredibly useful if that's the type of thing you're doing. If you're loading up your board, wanting to maneuver it a lot, it's a bigger board, those handles are really good. And I think he went down that route in the end mainly because of those handles. Because he was like, I think in kayaking that would have been important to me, and I think it's still important.
It's not until you face getting out of a canal or riverbank and you're there and the stuff's on the board and you've got 30 kilos worth of stuff and you're stuck holding onto a tree, and then you're like, okay, how do I get out of this situation?
That central handle is so useless in those.
And like,
those
okay, I'm either going to injure myself really badly, or I'm going to slip. It just
The thing I find a side handle the most useful for, if I'm touring and on my own, is you can kind of, you get that sort of suction onto the surface of the water with a board. That being able to peel it off from the side allows you to break that tension much more easily than just lifting it up from a central handle. Front and back handles are obviously very good if you've got two people, but if you're doing some solo paddling, portage handles, game changer in my mind. From my experience anyway.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you on that one. Yeah. So a little roundup, some questions. There's obviously been a lot more over the last few months. You've had a lot more surf stuff. Should we wrap this one up?
Yeah.
I think that was quite an interesting episode. A lot talked about. I think SUP's very much in our eyes still up and going. Foiling is still going to new developments.
Yeah.
It's good to see some new developments in boards. I think we're going to bring out a video later in January talking about what we think is going to happen in the future with some gear and stuff. Maybe talking about SUP and foil actually, something slightly. But yeah, I hope you have a really good Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Hope you didn't eat too much.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening.
If you've got any questions, please send them over. Check out all the content on SUPboarder Pro if you fancy a subscription.
Yeah, and enjoy your mulled wine.
Yeah, it's hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate, mulled wine, mulled cider.
Hot cider.
Have a really good Christmas.
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Cheers.